It's been reported that San Francisco voters approved an initiative requiring contracts negotiated between the city and the public employee unions to be ratified by the voters. Since public employees work for the city, for the public, not the city hall, do you think the public, through the ballot box, should vote on public employee union contracts?
Well, I think it's a really intriguing concept. I kind of trust the citizens of our town to be smart and educated, so I'm not quite as concerned as the others are about having the public understand the contracts or that they would be unfair to the employees. I would be concerned about expense and time, so I would like to see what happens in San Francisco and see how that's working. But I think that there is a reason to be thinking about it that may or may not be an issue in Laguna Beach, but it's just from a philosophical perspective is an issue, which is just that there's always the concern and an appearance that that unions can have political influence, and therefore the contracts are being negotiated by people in order to get support from the unions. That may or may not be valid, but that's something that the public is often concerned about, and that would take the political pressure off of the representatives. But again, I'm not quite as concerned that the public can't be trusted.
Well, sort of in the same vein, the City of Laguna Beach per capita liability and future obligations to pay public employee compensation for unused leave accumulated over long periods of time is higher than any city here in the county. Do you think Laguna Beach should adopt a use it or lose it policy that prevents unused leave from accumulating?
This is not disability leave. This is not people that are hurt or injured. This is just people that fail to take vacation days and therefore they accumulate.
And sick leave.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Almost shows $100 million of pending city projects that are not in the budget. They're unfunded. I'm sure there are strategic priorities in both the city manager as well as the council, but some projects probably are less important than others for this non-funding. So is $1 million for a vegetable garden on a vacant lot better allocation of funds than other uses, like repairing city roads, sidewalks, underground utilities, etc.?
The $100 million number that you're referring to is specifically capital improvements that are not included in the 10-year program. And it truly is now, and it has always been a wish list. And there are things on here that may or may not ever happen, like the village entrance improvements. We all hope that someday it'll happen, but it's been discussed for the last 50 years in town. So that's a list of just things that we know we would like to do, but they may never happen, and they're certainly not priorities, and they're certainly not public safety issues. The 10-year capital improvement plan, which is about a 10-page piece of the budget, is very, very specific. And each year it has a list of anywhere from 10 to 20 items that are going to be done during that year. When I got on the council, we didn't have anything like that. And this was something that I specifically brought up, and it was adopted by the council to make it part of the budget. And Bob was saying, 5 years isn't enough. Well, we do 10 years, and it's a very specific program. And the real issue in going forward is not so much are we thinking far enough ahead. We clearly are thinking far ahead. The real question is, what are those priorities, and how can we get it done at the best possible price?
The point was made that perhaps we can be a little more strategic about how the city is operated. My personal experience in industry for 30 or 40 years was all strategically derived. You wrote a strategic plan first before you did any kind of a budget. You agreed on the strategy and you went forward. Running the city by a budget is a case of we're going to spend this much, at the end of the year we spend it, now let's go and spend some more.
But I think it's important to note, Dennis, that because of contracts with employees and other outsourcing that goes on, more than 70%, and I'd have to calculate what percent, more than 70% of the budget is tied up before it even gets to the council. And so it's important that the council also be involved in determining how to get to that 70%.
Let's change the subject a little bit. The parcel tax. That's seemingly a question of great interest to everybody. I know some of you have gone on, I think everyone has gone on record of either going with it or not going with it. But as far as the parcel tax is concerned, what's your position on it as written, and or as you think it should be?
Mr. Dicterow. I'm opposing the parcel tax. It's interesting because I really agree with you, Vern, on the idea of open space. I agree with everything you said as far as the reasoning as to why open space is a good thing. I just don't think that this is a good way to do it. I believe that taxes are a very scary function that a government serves. Some Supreme Court at one time said the power to tax is the power to destroy. So I take the idea of increasing taxes very seriously. And so when it comes to a special tax, for me, it has to meet one of two criteria. Either we have a unique opportunity, such as we did with Main Beach or the Canyon, both of which I supported. Although I wasn't in Laguna at the time of the Main Beach, I would have supported it had I been. But I was here during the Canyon purchase, and I supported that. Or when there are emergency circumstances, such as the 2005 Bluebird Canyon slide, we raised the sales tax by 0.5%. We also had a sunset built into it, which thankfully was met. But we didn't have a choice there. We didn't have the cash to do what federal law required us to do, which was to rebuild the road. The danger I have with the parcel tax is that this is a very seductive situation. When it first came out, I supported it because it really is seductive. It's going to buy open space, and it's only $10 a month per parcel, and so it looks really easy to do that. But I think you can't just look at the numbers. You have to look at the process and whether or not it fits the kinds of things to do. But I think it's a really important question to ask us, because I think that not only do people want to know where we stand as candidates, I think that the public looks to council members as well as council candidates to get guidance on how they should vote. So I appreciate that.